I never thought a housecat could save my life. That sort of thing happened in cheap paperbacks you find in secondhand stores, right between conspiracy thrillers and romance novels with questionable cover art. But my cat, Oliver, proved me wrong. Oliver wasn't extraordinary at first glance. A big gray tabby with mismatched eyes, one green, one amber, he looked like any other feline lounging in a sunny window. But he had a strange aura about him. Neighbors whispered that he stared too intently, as though he saw things humans couldn't. Friends joked that he was part dog for how loyal he was, following me from room to room like a shadow. I just called him my best friend. We lived in a small walk-up apartment in the city, a stone's throw from the rumbling subway and a block away from a neon diner that smelled perpetually of burnt coffee. I worked long hours as an assistant editor at a downtown magazine. It was thankless work, full of deadlines and burnt-out writers, but it paid the rent. Most nights, Oliver greeted me at the door, his tail flicking like a metronome, his eyes demanding full attention before I even had time to take off my shoes. It was an ordinary Tuesday night when everything changed. I'd fallen asleep on the couch with a half-finished crime novel resting on my chest, the TV buzzing static in the background. Around midnight, I awoke to a sharp scratch at my bedroom door. Oliver never scratched. He was vocal when hungry, dramatic when ignored, but he never used his claws on furniture or doors. "Oliver?" I mumbled. The scratching grew frantic, urgent. Then came a sound I'd never heard from him, a low, guttural growl, vibrating through the silence. Uneasy, I stood and opened the door. Oliver bolted past me, sprinting to the living room window. His body was rigid, fur bristling. He pawed at the blinds until they rattled violently. I pulled them aside and froze. Across the street, under the yellow glow of a flickering street lamp, a man stood staring directly at my apartment. His hat cast a shadow over his face, but his posture was unmistakably deliberate. He wasn't waiting for a bus or taking a smoke break. He was watching. A chill slid down my spine. I blinked. In the moment it took, the man vanished into the alley. Oliver hissed, tail lashing like a whip. He pressed against the glass as though trying to guard me. I whispered, "What did you see that I didn't, buddy?" The break-in the next day, I convinced myself it had been my imagination. Big cities are full of shadows, and paranoia is cheap rent. But Oliver didn't forget. That night, he refused to leave the window. When I tried to coax him to bed, he meowed insistently, swatting at my sleeve. I finally let him stay perched there. At 3:17 a.m., a noise shattered my sleep, the distinct creak of my fire escape ladder being tested. I sat up, heart pounding. Then I heard the unmistakable click of metal against my window frame. Someone was trying to break in. Before I could react, Oliver launched himself from the sill. He slammed into the blinds, claws tearing fabric, yowling with a ferocity I didn't know he had. The noise was so violent, so sudden, that the intruder stumbled back. I caught a glimpse of gloved hands retreating, the ladder clanging as the figure scrambled away. I called the police, but by the time they arrived, the alley was empty. They took a report, shrugged, and told me to keep my doors locked. Oliver, still pacing like a tiny guard dog, didn't relax until dawn. That was when I realized, my cat hadn't just woken me. He had saved me. 2 days later, the mystery deepened. While walking home from work, I noticed something tucked into my mailbox, a small black notebook. No postage, no return address. Just my name, scrawled in uneven letters. Inside were pages of cryptic notes. Maps of my neighborhood. Lists of addresses. Dates circled in red ink. And one chilling entry, written boldly in the center of a page. Target, Hayes. Deadline. Soon. My stomach flipped. Someone had marked me. I might have dismissed it as a prank if Oliver hadn't reacted the way he did. The moment I brought the notebook inside, he stalked around it, ears flattened, growling low. Then, without hesitation, he batted it under the couch as if to hide it from sight. For the first time in my life, I thought, maybe my cat knows more than I do. I brought the notebook to the local precinct, where a weary detective named Ramirez listened half-heartedly as I explained. He was middle-aged, with tired eyes and coffee breath, and he clearly thought I was exaggerating. "Ma'am," he said, flipping through the notebook, "could be some bored kid messing with you." "Some bored kid tried to break into my apartment," I shot back. He frowned. "Well, keep it on file. But unless there's a real crime," I left frustrated, clutching Oliver's carrier. He meowed indignantly, as though insulted on my behalf. "Don't worry," I whispered to him as we walked home. "If the cops won't take this seriously, we'll figure it out ourselves." His mismatched eyes gleamed as if to say, "Exactly." Over the next week, strange things kept happening. Phone calls with no one on the line. Footsteps trailing me on late walks home. An envelope slipped under my door with nothing but a single word inside: run. Each time, Oliver reacted before I did, ears twitching, fur standing on end, growls vibrating like tiny earthquakes. It was as if he could sense the danger coming. I started studying the notebook in secret. The addresses listed all belonged to small businesses scattered across the city. Pawn shops, laundromats, even a florist. Oliver would sit beside me on the couch, watching intently as I traced patterns on the maps. One night, I whispered, "If you can really understand me, show me which one to check first." I spread the pages out on the floor. Oliver padded forward, sniffed, and placed a paw firmly on an address: 221 Cobalt Street. "All right," I said, shivering. "Well, start there." The address led me to a decrepit warehouse near the river, its windows boarded, its walls tagged with graffiti. I never would have dared go inside, except Oliver insisted. He wove between my legs, tail flicking, urging me forward. Inside, the air smelled of mildew and rust. My flashlight beam cut across stacks of boxes. Oliver prowled ahead, fearless, as if he'd walked these halls before. Then we found it, a corkboard pinned with photographs. At work. At the grocery store. Sitting in my apartment window. Each one dated, logged, obsessively tracked. I gasped, stumbling back. Someone had been watching me for weeks. Oliver hissed, leaping onto the board, tearing at the photos with his claws. As he shredded them, I noticed something taped behind, a business card. Victor Crane, investigative journalist. I took the card to Detective Ramirez, who finally perked up at the name. "Crane's been missing for months," he said. "Rumors say he was investigating a corruption ring tied to city officials. If you've got his notebook, maybe you're tangled up in something bigger than you think." Bigger, indeed. The pieces clicked. Crane must have left his notes for me, hidden them in my mailbox, hoping someone cautious but determined might follow through. The break-in, the threats, they weren't random. Someone wanted those notes buried. And Crane silenced. But why me? That night, as I sat staring at Oliver, the answer came. Crane had lived in my building once, months before disappearing. Maybe he knew I was quiet, trustworthy, unnoticed. Maybe he knew someone would find his work safe with me. And maybe Oliver's instincts weren't mystical at all. Maybe he simply smelled the fear, sensed the danger, filled in where I hesitated. Either way, he had chosen to fight for me. 2 nights later, the stalker returned. I woke to the sound of my fire escape groaning again. But this time, I was ready. Oliver was crouched on the sill, tail puffed, eyes glowing like lanterns. I dialed Ramirez on speed, whispering into the phone. The window cracked open. A man slid inside, gloved hands reaching, only to be met with a furious blur of gray fur. Oliver launched himself at the intruder's face, claws flashing. The man cursed, staggering back, giving me the chance to grab the lamp and smash it across his arm. He dropped, stunned, just as Ramirez and 2 officers burst through the door. The man was none other than Councilman Harlow's aide, a powerful figures fixer. He confessed under pressure. Crane had uncovered evidence of embezzlement, and they'd silenced him. When I ended up with the notebook, I became a liability. Oliver, it turned out, had been the difference between me becoming another footnote and surviving to tell the story. Weeks later, the city buzzed with headlines, "Corruption ring exposed." Journalist avenged. Local woman credited. Reporters called me a hero, but I corrected them. I didn't solve this. My cat did. Oliver sat proudly beside me during interviews, mismatched eyes unblinking, as though daring anyone to disagree. At night, when the city quieted and neon lights blurred against the rain, I would stroke his fur and whisper thanks. Thanks for waking me when shadows gathered. Thanks for standing guard when no one else would. Thanks for loving me fiercely enough to fight for my life. He would purr, curling against my chest, as if to say, that's what we do for each other. And maybe it wasn't mystical at all. Maybe it was just love, the kind that defies logic, the kind that makes you stronger, braver, unstoppable. Still, I'll never forget the sight of him on that windowsill, growling at the darkness, keeping me alive when fate tried to take me. They say cats are selfish, aloof creatures. But mine? Mine was my guardian, my partner, my detective in the dark. And the truth is simple, Oliver didn't just save my life. He gave it back to me.